All right, good morning, everybody. For day one, Algebra 1, 1.1, we're going to go over a couple things today. So just to start us off, we're going to look at a couple vocab words, expression and equation. So if you guys noticed, I'm writing this on notebook paper so that I can show you how to take those notes that I'm posting for you and transfer it into what your notebook paper is going to look like. So expression and equation, they're really the same thing, except an expression doesn't have an equal sign and an equation does have an equal sign. Okay, so really that's the only difference. And then when it comes to a variable, most of us are used to seeing x, but it can be t, w, strawberry, it doesn't matter. It can be a symbol or a placeholder as well. And really all it's saying is that this can vary, right? It comes from variable. This can vary. It doesn't have to be one number. And then lastly, our solution is always going to be the answer to an equation. All right, so once I take this equation with an equal sign and solve it, that will get me my solution. So then further down, we're going to talk about our order of operations. This is the order in which we have to solve and simplify things, okay? So when I'm simplifying things, I always start with my parentheses. So that means my first step, you're going to have to distribute if you have something outside of your parentheses. Second step is I always deal with my exponent. The M in PEMDAS is for multiplication. All right, it looks like this. It can be a dot. It can be parentheses with something next to it, an asterisk. Then division comes in many forms. The division symbol, which we actually don't see very much anymore. A fraction or a fraction written slanted. And then addition and subtraction, nice and easy, only have one sign to them. So when I'm solving and I need to get rid of something, I always have to balance it on both sides of the equation. Remember, math is very much like a balance beam. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if I'm going to get rid of something on one side, I have to use its inverse or its opposite, okay? So if I see plus 3, and that's what I need to get rid of, my opposite of plus is minus. So if I say plus 3 and I want to get rid of it, I'm going to do minus 3 to get rid of it, and then I'm going to do minus 3 on the other side as well. And then on the other end as well, so the opposites are multiplication and division. So if I see x over 2, that means x divided by 2. So x over 2 means divided by. So in order to do the opposite, you would need to multiply by 2 on both sides. So let's look at a couple examples of this. If I'm solving example 1, I've got x right here, but there are no other x's. So my goal is always to get the x alone. So we always are going to deal with our plus and minus, and then if there's a number right next to the x, we're going to handle that after. But right now we've got minus 3 that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to use my opposite because I've got to jump over my equals sign. So I'm going to do plus 3, and negative 3 plus 3 is 0, so we can say that that goes away. But then we need to balance. And now x is left alone, equal to negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. So now let's look on this next. Now guys, if I plug this negative 2 in, this is how math works. You can check your answers. If I say, well, x is negative 2, then instead of the x, I can say, well, that means that negative 2 in place of the x and minus 3 has to equal negative 5. So if you put that in your calculator, negative 2 minus 3, that does indeed equal negative 5. So when you solve, what that means is when you plug it back in, that equation has to be true. All right, and over here, we've got the x alone, and we've got this plus 12 with it. So I'm going to get rid of the plus 12 by using my opposite, minus 12. And that is positive 12 minus 12 is 0, so that goes away. But then we have to balance it on the other side of the equal sign. Now, if you have two numbers on the same side of the equal sign, you're just going to add or subtract them together, whatever it tells you to do. We're not going to do opposites. The only time we do opposites are to cross over the equals sign and to get rid of something. So now I've got x equals 20 minus 12, which is 8. So again, if I were to plug 8 in right here, That would be 8 plus 12, which is 20. All right, so notice on this one, we don't have a plus or minus thing happening right next to the x, but what we do have is this 4 right next to it. So when I see 4x, what that means is 4 times x. So that means our opposite is going to be division. And this is going to be our last step with these solving equations. And right now we're doing simple solving, so we're going to have our addition piece and or our multiplication piece. So we always deal with the addition or subtraction first, and then the multiplication or division after. So I'm going to divide by 4 and then balance it. So that's going to go away on the left side because 4 divided by 4 is 1. And we know that if I multiply 1 with anything, it doesn't change it. So now I've got x alone is equal to 24 divided by 4, which is 6. And here I'm looking x over 5, which means x divided by 5. So in order to do my opposite, I'm going to multiply by 5. And same deal, it's going to do 5 divided by 5 is 1. But then I have to do the same thing over here. I have to multiply by 5. So whatever I'm doing to one side, we've got to do to the other. So now I've got x equals 15. And 2 more examples of the simple solving. Now we've got both things involved. So this is what I've been referring to. You've got to handle this part first. The division at the end always is going to happen last. So I'm going to start with this plus 6, and I'm going to do minus 6. So they're the same. Positive 6 minus 6 is 0, so we can say that goes away. And then I'm going to do subtracting 6 right here as well. I don't want you guys to think that me crossing that out wasn't a minus sign. So then I've got 2x is equal to 14 minus 6, which is 8. And then now I see I've got my multiplication piece, so 2 times x. So I'm going to get rid of that with division and divide on both sides. So x is equal to 4. And last problem. So this is a negative 5. That does not say minus 5. So we're going to handle it the same. We always need to handle this plus and minus piece first. Then we're going to divide by a negative 5 at the end. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 3. And then I'm going to add 3 over here. Okay, that 3 is gone, so I've got negative 5x left over. And notice that's not minus 5, so we're not going to add there. It's connected to the x, so that means we have to divide. And 17 plus 3 is 20. And so now last step, this is literally saying negative 5 times x. So I'm going to divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. So x is equal to 20 divided by 5 is 4. But if you divide a positive with a negative, you will always end with a negative number. So this would be x is equal to negative 4. All right, hope that helped.